like human beings. So my question is, today there are lots of infrastructures to invest into technologies. There are startups, there are investment funds, numerous scientists that are developing different solutions. How can we address the issue of investing into consciousness or self-consciousness? What needs to be done? What infrastructure is there in place? What solutions are there to do that? Thank you.
I would like to correct the question a little bit before I address the question. You used the analogy of an island. No, I want you to understand, human intellect is an island. All products of human intellect are small islands, including technology. Consciousness is the ocean in which we are existing. What consciousness means is an intelligence not identified with any memory, that means not identified with any boundary of you and me and this and that. See, you must understand this. On this planet, let's think of planet, but even the planet can be thought further. In this space, suddenly systems have happened, stars have happened, planets have happened. In that planet, life has happened. All of it fundamentally from an intelligence beyond this material that you're seeing as creation. All of it emerging from almost nothingness. It is in a way nothingness, but you must understand the word nothing by putting a hyphen between no and thing. It's not a thing because it is not a memory block. A memory block is a thing because it comes with a boundary. Once there is a defined boundary, it becomes physical existence. This is a dimension of intelligence which has no boundaries. So that is the ocean. You're mistaking the island for an ocean and an ocean for an island. So what do we have to do for it to manifest in human society is large scale. In every generation of people, there have been very conscious beings, but in some generations and in some societies, they have been heard. In other societies, they have been ignored. The other noise has been much bigger. So it is time we make that voice which refers to a dimensionless, a boundaryless consciousness heard. And methodologies as to how to become conscious, as there are technologies to create well-being in our surroundings, there is a science and technology to do the same within us. So, this is not today's thing, this has always been there, it's as old as humanity. But in some generations it is heard loudly, in some generations it sinks, and accordingly human well-being rises and sinks. Any amount of technology, if you don't know how to be, you still are not well. See, look at our own state right now. As a generation of people, we know more comfort and convenience than any generation ever knew in the history of humanity. Our life is far more comfortable. No generation ever knew these kind of comforts and conveniences. But can you claim you are the most joyful and fantastic generation ever? No. People are becoming neurotic. I am not saying we're worse than other generations, but we are not significantly better for the amount of toll we have taken on every other life to have what we want to have. So, your technologies will bring comfort and convenience, will not bring well-being. It's time to focus on that, because already we are at a place where technology is going through the ceiling, we are not matching up. It is like, right now, your well-being is still determined by what's around you, not what's within you. So this doesn't mean love thy neighbor, be like this, go be a good person, be a noble person, this is not about that. Your body and your brain should take instructions from you. If your body and your brain take instructions from you, would you keep yourself healthy and blissful every moment of your life? I'm asking you, if you had a choice, definitely you would. So obviously your body and your brain is not taking instructions from you. This means you're not conscious enough. So we have to invest in that direction. One thing is, if you walk through the city, I'm sure there are hospitals, there are schools, there are toilets and there is everything. But do you have a place where there is a place for people to meditate? There's no such thing. Eastern societies invested heavily in the past in that direction, but today they are also emulating the West and trying to compete with them, losing out on this. But the need for inner well-being will become very strong in the next 20–25 years when technology starts doing most of the things that you're doing and you don't know why you exist. Then the need for well-being becomes super strong. So, if we want to be ready for that day, it's very important that we invest both physical infrastructure and human infrastructure, which focuses on the innermost core of who we are.
Позвольте, я задам последний вопрос, адресован вам, господин Каку. Я очень…
Mr. Kaku, let me ask you a question. For quite a while, I used to think that technological and communication progress leads to a total solitude of a human. Yes, people can connect via FaceTime, but they become more and more isolated from each other and inward focused. Somebody has mentioned those dolls, and fantasy about what to do with those dolls. But the problem is that people may no longer need each other when the technologies develop. Will it happen? What do you think?
100 years ago, when the telephone was first coming in, there were many articles denouncing the telephone. The telephone, they said, was impersonal. We will spend too much time talking to this mechanical voice in the air rather than talking to our children and talking to our loved ones. And so they said the telephone is evil. Well, the critics were right. We spend too much time on the telephone. We don't talk to our children enough, but the telephone, we love it. We love the telephone because it expanded our horizon from 20 people to 2,000 people. And now mothers come up to me and say their children spend too much time on the internet. What should they do? Well, personally, I think that a new etiquette is being created for children. If you are a child and you're not on the internet, then you don't exist. A new social etiquette is being created. So I tell mothers that it's a good thing if their child is on the internet, otherwise they'll be an outcast, but they have to be socialized. And that's the key to the whole puzzle. We want to make sure that our people are socialized, that they interact with real people in real time, make friends, make alliances, and engage in social discourse so that they can function on several levels. On one level, they can function in cyberspace because a new social etiquette is being created. And on the other hand, they can interact with people socially in terms of understanding pecking order, etiquette, politeness, deference to our elders, how to make friends, how to make coalitions. All these things are very complicated, and we have to make sure that our children understand that as well. And so the internet does not have to be an isolated island divorced from the rest of society. If anything, it'll expand your horizon from 2,000 people to 2 billion people. And so I think that we have to make sure that our children are socialized and take advantage of the internet, because the internet, as I mentioned before, promotes democracy. And as I concluded before, democracies rarely war against other democracies. So when your child plays video games with somebody from Norway, Mexico, or Afghanistan, that is a good thing. Because in the future, they may not want to war with people from these other countries because they are their best friends. So what I'm trying to say is a new social etiquette is being created. We have to make sure that we don't hide in it, But on the other hand, we have to use it because that's where jobs, opportunity, and new friends are going to be created.
Can I
Спасибо
say
большое.
something? Can I just say one thing?
Of course.
I think this fear about technology is just fear about the unknown for most human beings. Everything that is new, that comes in, of course, there will be a certain challenge of exerting ourselves to understand what it is. It will definitely not create solitude. The problem should be more of, there will be no room for solitude. That will be the question because we'll be too much connected. People wake up in the morning and the first thing they see is their cell phone, what are the messages they have? It's fine, because the gadget is new. I think the next generation will learn how to handle the cell phone far better than the way we are handling it because this is a new gadget, we're a little excited about it. I'm sure people will come to terms with this.
Спасибо. Последний вопрос из зала, пожалуйста.
Okay, last question from the floor. A very simple question. I want to ask both Kaku-san and Sadhguru. We are now in a situation of unprecedented uncertainty. The God has rolled the dice. And we know that the memories which we have discussed, that electricity generates waves and makes the heart beat. And when the heart no longer beats, the person is dead. And memory is also an archive of memories, experiences. So what should we do? Forget everything, because the system is glitching. So we'd have to reboot it. Can I ask you for a very short answer, please?
Mentioned that we have constant uncertainty, but I personally think that's a good thing. It's a good thing because new jobs, new exciting occupations, new challenges for humanity is being created. Now, I'm generally an optimist. Why? Because I think the smallest unit of history is the decade. Anything smaller than a decade, you get random noise. And therefore, when we look at the random noise, it looks frightening. Every day, a new emergency, a new crisis. But when you look at history decade by decade, then you begin to realize the enormous progress. And that came through to me every time I talked to my parents and my grandparents. Think of the world that our grandparents lived in, where high-speed travel was getting stuck in the mud when it rained, long-distance communication was yelling out the window, and a good long life meant that you lived to be 45 years of age. That's the way it was for our grandparents. So I tend to be optimistic when you look at decade by decade, you realize that all the uncertainties you talk about are fluctuations within the decade.
Дмитрий, добавьте, что вы хотели от себя добавить.
Dmitry, would you like to add anything? One, you know the dice have been rolled, but whether to forget or to remember everything, well, it's difficult to say. Sadhguru, a very short answer, please. Your last comment.
We are complaining about too many possibilities. You must understand, in the past, uncertainty meant whether you'll live tomorrow or not. Today, your life is largely assured. Uncertainty is only in terms of possibilities and new happenings. You must celebrate this, not worry about it. Because in the past, it was always about war, it's about punishment, somebody's going to hang you, somebody's going to kill you. It's no more like that. There is a proper process for all those things. By accident, nobody can simply kill you or hang you or do things to you. Now it is only about possibilities. Uncertainty of possibilities is a fantastic situation. We shouldn't even ever complain about it.
Спасибо. Дмитрий Медников, хотите ли вы буквально 2 слова добавить?
Dmitry, just 2 words and we'll be closing this session. Well, that's a very philosophic question, you know. Somebody asked me about what the media would look like in 80 years from now. I thought about that. And I think that it will be something like selecting your role, emotional behavior model at any point in time, the one that you like best. Okay, thank you so much. I want to thank all our speakers. The session is now closed.